All right, here for I guess, impromptu episode of Lock It or Leave It. Don't do these often, trying to get out of my groundhog hole for these. And this is a perfect opportunity, too, because Cooper Flag will be a Dallas Maverick. No one expected this. I'm here with a good friend of mine and another Hornets reporter, Hunter Bailey. He was there for the draft party in Charlotte. Hunter, talk us through what that was like in the response to Nico Harrison getting bailed out like no other.
Yeah, I think it just reinforces karma is not real. It doesn't matter what happens, you're gonna get what's coming, good or bad. But yeah, so Hornets did a draft lottery party last night at Legion Brewing in South Park. Pretty good events. They had some Hornets greats, Del Curry, Muggsy Bogues walking around saying hello to fans. Uh, Pretty exciting. You're kind of thinking, hey, here's the chance, right? This is the local prospect, played at Duke just a couple hours down the road. He fits exactly what the Hornets needs are, although you could say that for a ton of teams with Cooper's play style. But yeah, what was a super exciting venue there at Legion just had the life sucked out of it. You see the Hornets make the top four. They cut to that commercial. It felt just like 2 years ago, looking at it, or 3 years ago, I guess, in the Wemby sweepstakes. But immediately, as soon as they get back from commercial break, you see them fall to four. So tough. It's like the air of the building, like I said, but good event overall.
I kind of want to touch on what this means for the NBA. Of course, if you're a Dallas Mavericks fan, you go from basically, shunning the franchise to now saying I'm 110% back in,
Yeah.
right? In a snap of a finger, in the bounce of a ping pong ball, you are right back into your fandom as a Dallas Maverick. But for the NBA as a whole, I don't necessarily know if this is a good thing. We've had this discussion many times, but I want to touch on it again. We always talk about the league is so stacked, right? The talent is at an all-time high. The skill level is amazing. Every team can go eight, nine deep. Expansion's needed.
Yep.
But then you look around and you say, well, the same four teams are bottom feeders every single year. Why should we be expanding when we have a subset of organizations that can't seem to get out of NBA purgatory? What would your answer to that be?
Yeah, it almost feels like if leveling the playing field is their goal, and I think that's the if right now, because the way that this is slated, I mean, I think the Hawks had the 10th best odds last year, get number one. This year it's the Dallas Mavericks, I believe, had the 11th best, 1.8%. So if leveling the playing field is the goal, then I don't even know that expansion does make sense at this time because you mentioned, I mean, there's teams like we're talking about this from a Hornets perspective, right? They haven't had the number one pick since 1991, and they've been in the lottery 26 times since then. I mean, that's one for 26. I mean, they're doing better than the Houston Rockets did shooting wise against the Warriors that year, 0 for 27, but still pretty rough. And then you look at teams like Utah, who, I mean, they were in full tank mode this year. They fall further than the Hornets, Washington as well. The top teams in the top three best chances, 14%, all fall 4, 5, and 6. So just wild to watch how it unfolded.
Yeah, Kevin Durant tweeted, tanking must be really stressful on an organization. And yeah, that's completely correct. And, you just mentioned the Utah Jazz. Danny Ainge was selling his soul to lose these games. You watch when the Jazz came to Charlotte, right? And Walker Kessler's not playing, and they say, oh, why is he not playing? Rest management. I've
Yeah.
never seen rest management be a reason for why a guy is sitting out, or wrist management for LaMelo, or all these things, these creative ways that these franchises are trying to lose games ethically. And what does it turn out to be? It doesn't turn out to be anything.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that sucks. As just someone who likes and loves the NBA, as a fan, as someone who covers it, on all those things combined, where you're saying the NFL has it right. And I'm not saying the number one pick should have the worst record or whatever, because it would be an egregious amount of terrible basketball being played if people
Yeah.
know, hey, worst record, we get Wembanyama, worst record, we get Cooper Flag. However, the NFL, Kansas City is just as popular as the LA Rams, right? The
Yeah.
Cincinnati Bengals are just as much of a draw as the New York Giants. And that's because they take care of smaller market teams, smaller market franchises. The same can't be said in the NBA. You just mentioned expansion. Those cities that you expand to are gonna be big time cities, and you best believe they're
Yeah.
gonna have superstars there as well.
Vegas and Seattle come to mind. I mean, return of the Supersonics, but you're right. It's like talk about how deep the league is now. Every team play eight, nine guys in a playoff game, and it doesn't even make any sense, man, when you have these basically bottom feeders.
And what's crazy about this, now that I'm thinking about it, is we have this entire discussion around NCAA and college and NIL and how teams like, Charlotte that we cover as well, these kind of middle tier programs in terms of size, they don't have a leg up on a Michigan, on an Ohio State. The same thing is happening in the NBA.
Yeah.
What free agent is saying, yeah, I want to go to Charlotte, right? I want to sign a 4-year deal to play for the Hornets. That's not happening. So my question to you, Hunter, how do you become a good team if you're the Hornets?
Charlotte's going to have to kind of take things into their own hand, and that's just spending money, right? I mean, whether that's putting a trade package together and trying to get future assets, like one of the biggest deals with the new regime, right? They come in, they make all these trades ahead of the deadline. You're looking at some of the picks that they got 2027 coming from Miami, 2027 from Dallas, a pick that you felt really good about, especially after the Luka trade. It's like, okay, what is Dallas going to be in a couple years? And then you see the rich get richer, a team that was in the finals literally what, 11 months ago, right back number one pick. And it's worth talking about too, the teams that jumped Charlotte. I mean, San Antonio coming up to two. I think they've had a top four pick, what is it, 3 years in a row? Castle, Wimby, and now they'll obviously have a chance at another. And they've got two picks in the first round. And then the 76ers, who could have very easily lost their pick to the Oklahoma City Thunder, end up right there at the three spot, have a chance. Feels like all those teams are in the Giannis sweepstakes. And for a team like Charlotte, again, you have to pick someone that fits your needs. And you're looking at a roster that will, as I mentioned, be picture perfect, fitting Cooper Flag right there at the four. Now you're kind of wondering, okay, is it VJ Edgecombe? Is it Concanipple? Who is going to be that next pick that Charlotte hopes they land on? But I will say this one more thing. Just because they didn't get number one doesn't mean they can't get a good player in this draft. I mean, you talked about what D Wade tweeted out. I mean, he went fifth overall. Hornets have a better pick than that, and I think I don't know. It's tough, but you got to look at it as glass half full and just hope that someone like LaMelo and someone like Brandon Miller is enough to attract stars to a market like the Queen City.
Yeah, and that's the thing where, I don't want people to listen to this and think it's a Hornets reporter pity party because it's certainly not. I think it's more of a small market pity party or, just saying, where is that? Where's the balance? But
Yeah,
speaking of balance, it's not just balance with small market teams and big market teams. The West versus the East, Hunter.
yeah.
This is
Ooh,
getting a little out of hand, where it seems like every year the West is adding either another superstar or a team is taking that jump, right? The Rockets took a jump, we saw. What's the landscape? How do you look at the NBA now when you
yeah.
say the West goes legitimately 11 deep, 11 deep, and the East is top five, top six?
Well, you made a really good point. We were talking on the phone last night after the results. There's going to be a top end player in the West that's just left off the All-Star team or left out of these conversations because you're looking at, all right, Giannis is now open to being moved. I see reports of a no like income tax state that's screaming Texas. And you're thinking, okay, if he goes west, and we'll get to Tatum in a minute, Tatum potentially could miss most of next season with the injury sustained in last night's game four against the Knicks. Yeah. Who is in the East now? I mean, if Boston isn't the team that they're going to be, they have a huge payday. I mean, their books next year are nuts with the guys that they have, obviously under new ownership. You're looking at teams like New York, Indiana, and maybe Cleveland as being the top dogs in the East. And that's, I mean, just the unbalance of powers is insane, man, because you're right. If you can just get into the playoffs, you don't even need home court in the West. If you can get in, you can win the title because every team over there is going to have a swinger's chance, man.
And we're seeing that with the T-Wolves right now, right? Where the T-Wolves just got in and they say, we can go into LA and win. We don't care about LA being the 3 seed. We're going to beat them in 5 games. And now the T-Wolves, as it all stands, got to be co-favorites with the Thunder to reach the NBA Finals. But like you said, and like I said on the phone yesterday, like if you're Devin Booker, De'Aaron Fox, John Morant, that guy who's not a super, super duper star and also is better than a fringe all-star,
Yeah.
those guys got to be like, well, damn, right? There's how many all-star selection spots? Giannis might be coming over. Cooper Flag might be in the West. And it's not like Cooper, this is another thing that I started thinking of when you're just thinking in real time. This isn't a Cade Cunningham situation, right? Where you see Cade get drafted, you know how good of a prospect Cade is, but you know it's going to take a couple years for the Pistons to get there. You know it's going to take some Wingstop promo deals that go crazy on Twitter, right? Because they
Every
lose
other commercial.
every other commercial because they just lose. And Wingstop's like, when the Pistons win, we'll give you a free thing. That becomes a thing because his team is bad. That's not how it's going to be for Cooper. Cooper, his first 4 years in the league, the outlook is you are on one of the best defensive teams in the league, bar none, from the jump. And this guy could easily be an all-star come year 2 if the
Yep.
Mavs, with a healthy Kyrie and Anthony Davis, can make some noise in the West. And then you look at the East, like you said, and you rattle off some teams, the Knicks, the Pacers, the Cavs. The NBA's got to be desperately hoping Paolo Banchero can take that leap to
Yep.
become another superstar because they are desperately needing another one in the Eastern Conference.
Yeah, I mean, you look at a team like Philly too, who, as we talked about, greatly benefited from this. If their pick falls out of the top six, that was going west too, to Oklahoma City. They end up at three. They're going to have a healthy Tyrese Maxey. They're going to get Jared McCain back. Paul George is still there. Embiid, who missed, felt like almost every game this season. So they're going to add another piece into the fold. So, but the imbalance, man, it really is amazing when you talk about Cooper Flag's fit. I mean, you're talking about a starting five that could be Kyrie, Klay Thompson, Cooper Flag fitting at the three. AD, and then either Daniel Gafford or Derek Lively. I assume one of those two bigs, and maybe a former Hornet, PJ Washington, will be in the on the move in the trade market. But the fit there is just unreal, man. They, like I said, karma's not real. I mean, you're in the finals a year ago. You trade a massive superstar in Luka Doncic in the middle of the night, the secret trade. There's no market for him. It's just we want AD, we get Max Christie and a pick, and then you end up with the solve all, the new kid on the block in Cooper Flag, man.
Yeah, Nico, this guy must. I would love to be a fly on the wall for not Nico in the draft room. Nico when he gets home and you
Yeah.
see your wife and you see your kids and your wife's like, hey man, let's crack open that bottle of wine that's been sitting there, that we've been waiting on.
Yeah.
Nico's just like, everyone's been doubting me. Does this make the decision right for trading Luca? No.
No.
But when you look back at these things in 5, 10 years, it's gonna be a lot different than how, the backlash was in real time for Nico Harrison. He said defense wins championships. And my God, does he have a defensive team now? Let's talk about the fit in Dallas. You mentioned fully healthy Kyrie, Klay Thompson, Cooper Flag at the 3, AD at the 4, Gafford or Lively at the 5. And you're right, Gafford's probably gonna be on the move because you have Lively on a rookie extension. But Hunter, the front court rotations, the options that Jason Kidd has now, he can go
Nasty.
big with Cooper 3, AD 4, Gafford Lively 5. He can go small, AD 5, Cooper
Small.
small in
Yeah.
quotations,
Yeah.
AD 5, Cooper 4. If you're Jason Kidd now, we talked earlier about Charles Lee, right? And how his his playbook kind of dwindled as the season went on. If you're Jason Kidd, that playbook is as wide as the ocean.
Yep.
Kind of things are you looking for, and what spots do you think Cooper can excel in his first year as a Dallas Maverick?
Yeah, so he's one of those players that literally does everything pretty well. I mean, we saw him even in big games in the tournament shooting the three ball well, but I think one of the most unsung portions of his game is his ability to pass the ball. the big passing, him and AD, the rim running threat with Lively, dude. I mean, they have multiple options, and he's used to playing with NBA ready prospects. I mean, two of his teammates will probably go in the top 10. The fit is crazy. And when you think about kind of the situation Dallas is in, so early in the season, they're going to be missing Kyrie Irving. He's coming off an ACL. I mean, you're looking around All-Star break return it in my mind when the injury took place. But they did get another plus defender, a younger player, Max Christie, in that deal. Someone who's going to be relied on a lot. They still have someone like Klay Thompson. I think they're going to have to sign a guard or two, maybe even through the draft. We'll see what happens there. But just to fit, I think Cooper is a connector, and I mean that in the highest form of compliment. He can, I mean, you see the on-off difference when he was at Duke. Obviously, they didn't bring home the title. They come extremely close, but he's plug and play ready. This isn't, as you mentioned, Cade Cunningham, someone who obviously had the talent. It took a little bit of time to flesh out some of the wrinkles, but you're right. He's coming into a team with three Hall of Famers on it, man. I mean, there's no way around it but that. And yeah, I mean, I think he's starter ready right off the bat. And we'll see what they do with Gafford because if they're able to keep Gafford, go both those centers, AD and Cooper, I mean, man, there's just a myriad of possibilities that Jayson would have.
Now I know that the Pistons won the championship and the Mavericks didn't, but this kind of reminds me of what it would have been like if Melo was drafted to the Pistons instead of Darko Milicic, right? Where he goes to a team out the gate with vets who know how
Yep.
to win, who know what to do off the court, on the court, that know the process of winning. Cooper is going right into a team with AD, Kyrie, Clay, even guys like Gafford. You have a Hall of Fame point guard in Jason Kidd, and it's more than just I have Anthony Davis on defense. You have these guys off the court as well.
Yep.
And from a, of course, I talked about the small markets and whatever, but from a just development standpoint, I don't think there are many places better. He's one of the guys that can just, like you said, plug and play, drop in. You're guarding Jayson Tatum. You're
Yep.
guarding a Kevin Durant tonight. You're guarding a LeBron. You're guarding an Anthony Edwards tonight, which makes me want to pivot. Celtics Knicks game four.
Oof.
That
Great
was
game.
classic in the making.
Yeah.
Jayson Tatum goes down with an injury, and I don't want to speak on the series. I want to speak about the ripple effects of this. Now, when Kawhi got injured in 2017, right? Zaza Pachulia, closeout, that happens. The ripple effects of that are massive that people don't really go back and think about. What do I mean by that? Kawhi's injured now. Spurs, that was their last shot with LaMarcus Aldridge and all those guys to really, really go for it. And that
Yeah.
was the beginning of the end for San Antonio, where 2 years later, he's winning a championship with the Toronto Raptors. You think about Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant gets injured in the 2019 NBA Finals. The Raptors go on to win. And all these things start happening. 2015, Kyrie and K Love don't play in the NBA Finals. Kyrie fractures his knee in game one. Kevin Love gets a dislocated arm from Kelly Olynyk in the first round against the Boston Celtics. The ripple effects of those things are massive. What if Kyrie doesn't get injured? Do the Cavs win in 2015? Do the Warriors then have a 73-9 season the next year? Does Kevin Durant still go to that team if, you know, A, B, and C don't happen? So for ripple effects, what are some that come to your mind about this? Because we talked about it, the Celtics are going to be in the 200th apron this
Yeah.
offseason. They can't afford to keep this team around, and they were banking on having a guaranteed two chips and then letting people go their way. Hunter, when you see the news of Tatum, we don't know the severity of it yet, concrete. Where does your mind go?
Yeah. So with the Tatum injury, which I think is the biggest ripple effect from game four itself. I mean, in my opinion, I think the Knicks were going to win that game, whether Tatum goes down or not, just the way that Cat was getting buckets late, Mikal Bridges, Jalen Brunson. I mean, they had three players make 10 or more field goals. That's a great team effort. Tatum itself, man, because if it is worst case, which is looks like Achilles, it's non-contact, he probably misses most of next season, if not all of it. Similar deal with the Damian Lillard injury just the round before. You look at that like, okay, so they do have someone Finals MVP in Jaylen Brown. They've got the sixth man of the year, Peyton Pritchard. You've got Derek White, who's, as we saw last night, capable of going off in the offensive end. Porzingis, you're wondering with that, Al Horford and his age, it's hard to imagine that team stays together. So then my mind goes to what I would consider the second echelon of teams in the East, and that is the Knicks, who I was talking with you guys in a group chat the other night during game one of that series when Boston obviously blows the 20-point lead, saying to you guys, what happens with the Knicks if they were to get swept in this series? Because when you look at it on paper, they have some of the bodies to go head to head with the Celtics. And when I think about kind of this matchup, it goes right back to Rockets Warriors for me when it felt like the Rockets were being assembled to take down Golden State. And obviously they got pretty much as close as you can get a couple separate times. That's this Knicks team in my mind. But then you're in Indiana, who's up 3-1 on the Cavs, and you're wondering what happened. Are the Cavs similar to the 2015 Atlanta Hawks? Are they just a great regular season team? There's the ripple effect is huge, and I mean, the West is wide open. We talk about the Thunder's window being now. They might not have to make a massive splash trade for a Giannis or a Kevin Durant, which is another part of that. Say Boston does go back to back. Would OKC realize we have to make a move? We have the pieces because you're right, man. I mean, OKC, I looked at it today. They're minus 105 for the NBA title. Second team, the New York Knicks, plus 500 odds. It's crazy to think a team that trailed 20 points, two 20-point comebacks in a row is now a top favorite to come out of the East, man. It really is. I mean, the landscape just shifted a ton.
If you've listened to this podcast before, you know Hunter and I, this is why I love Hunter, man. Because we'll be at a Hornets game and Hunter will just ask me about 2008 Darren Williams. And then we'll
Yeah.
just go on like, a rabbit hole about the best point guards in the early 2000s and everything. And we're speaking the same language, that basketball language, where that's exactly where I was going, right? Where you think about the Thunder and the Thunder win the championship this year, let's say they do, and they say, we don't want to be included in the Giannis sweepstakes anymore. We just want a championship.
Yeah.
Why would we sell a lot of our team, give it away for Giannis when we just lifted the Larry O'Brien trophy? Shea just won Finals MVP,
And they're
right?
sitting on Nikola Topic, who was a top 15 pick this past year that's not even playing, like
That's not
recovering
even
from an
playing.
injury. Yeah.
Then you think about the Knicks, right? And people are saying, oh, the Knicks, they did all this. Like you said, that's a great point. Daryl Morey specifically built that Rockets team to beat Golden State. Kevin Durant gets injured in 2019. Now you finally have your shot. Steph has 0 points in the first half, 33 in the second half. You're going home,
Yep.
right? The Knicks did the same thing. We are building a team to match up with Boston. Do you know why we gave both OG and Mikal Bridges big contracts? Because they're guarding Tatum and Brown. Do you know
Yep.
why we got Cat as a floor spacer? Because we have to pull Porzingis out from the paint. All of these things are directly because of what the Celtics were doing, and it wasn't working. They were down 20 points in 3 games. They won two of them. Game
Which is
they
crazy.
lost, which is insane, right? And now they're saying if we can beat Indiana, we're going to be in the NBA Finals. We
Yep.
don't need KD. We don't want to go and try and see if Giannis might want to come here. Their options change. And the ripple effects of this we'll be seeing for a long time, where I truly think in 5 years, if Tatum didn't get injured, we will be seeing a different NBA than what we're going to because of this injury.
Yeah, no doubt. It's and it makes for an interesting finals. I mean, we've talked about it a ton. The parity in the league has never been better. And right now, I mean, we're 95% chance gonna have a new NBA champion this year. So a new title defense will start next year, and that can be someone like Ant looking to take the jump to be the face of the league. That can be an SGA getting his first NBA Finals, holding up that Larry O'Brien with an MVP in his back pocket. And you still got Jokic in Denver. Like there's so many possibilities, and I think the door is wide open for a lot of them. And yeah, man, I get mad excited talking about this stuff.
To kind of wrap up here, That was a great segue you just did because the NBA championship window, like it's wide open, man. If you're
Yeah,
Tyrese Halliburton, you're looking at your team and you're telling them, dude, this is it. We beat the Knicks last year.
yeah,
We know what it takes. We can go to the NBA Finals, and let me tell you what, the Pacers are not a pushover against the Oklahoma City Thunder or the
yeah.
T-Wolves. They're going to make them run. They are deep. So when you think about the product standpoint, Adam Silver wants to be able to say, you know what? During my tenure as commissioner, I oversaw the most competitive era of the NBA.
When that's it too, I mean, we talked about the small market teams. We're talking on the small end, the Hornets, the Wizards, the Jazz. And you're also looking at, I mean, Milwaukee got a championship a few years ago with Giannis. Oklahoma City has a chance to get a championship this year. Indiana, I mean, what would that do to the ratings? I'm not 100% sure because, I mean, you're thinking in the past, Boston, Golden State, just the dominance. So there is a chance for a small market team to take home the title, and I think that would be massive as well.
And like you said, to kind of wrap up here, you, if you're the Hornets, if you're the Wizards, you have to take matters into your own hands now.
Yeah,
If you tried year upon year to get the number one pick, get that franchise changing guy, and you haven't gotten him, do what the Pacers did. Go and trade for Tyrese Halliburton, right?
yeah.
The Pacers had DeMontis Sabonis. They said, we have an all-star type of guy. We want to go in a different direction. We're taking matters into our own hands. I think now we're going to see some small market franchises do that. But Hunter, I mean, thank you for hopping on. How do people hear and find your work?
Yeah, man. So I write for the Charlotte Observer, so definitely check out charlotteobserver.com, covering Hornets, 49ers, and then the Highway 49 podcast. So definitely check us out, man. Appreciate you having me on, Jay.
Yeah, of course. Hit that subscribe button. One click. Gonna be hearing more of me, seeing more of me as the summer goes on and as football season and everything goes on. So thank you guys for listening. If you have any feedback or just want to talk about this stuff, either go on the TikTok and we'll be there talking, or just leave some comments. And this is one of those things where you're just like, what the hell just happened in the NBA? And you got to talk about it. All right. With that being said, thank you for listening. Again, the Lock It or Leave It. We will see y'all later. Peace.